In previous sessions, you learned general information about why and how to use active participation strategies in your classes, as well as the most effective uses of structured choral responses. Sessions 4 and 5 will cover when and how to use partner responses throughout instruction. Session 4 focuses on when to use partner responses in your instruction, what to remember in order to use partners effectively, and specific strategies for using partners when students are responding to a question, task, or directive. This session also includes a review of Think, Pair, Share, and an introduction to a strategy called Partners First.
The next thing we're going to look at is what we've used right here, which is the use of partners. And so would you locate slide number 20? And when we look at partners, if I was teaching preschool, we have one preschool teacher here. If I was teaching kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, I would use partners. But let me just tell you the time I wouldn't use partners. If I was tutoring you, I wouldn't use partners, obviously, because there's no partner available and you talk to invisible friend too often anyway. Even if I had two students, it would be somewhat awkward to have me say, one's tell your partner, two's tell your partner, when it's just us. But when we have at least 4 students, I would always use partners, because even with 4, if I say this answer to your partner, I've doubled the response opportunities of students right away. So 4 and more, we would always have partners. And so we saw in the video some basics about partners and who picked the partners in the video, the teacher or the students, everyone? The teacher. Some students shouldn't be partners. And in some of the work that was done at Vanderbilt by Doug and Lynn Fuchs, they asked this question, who would be best partners, particularly for the lowest kids in your class? And they determined what you probably already assumed, that the very highest students were not the best partners. They would dominate, they would say all the answers, they wouldn't be as supportive. That for the lowest students often did best with a student that was a middle performing goody-goody with excellent school behaviors. That would be like the best choice. So your highest students could go with high or middle. Your middle kids are the flex group. They could go with high, middle, or low students, and the low would go with the middle performing students. Now, how might you do that? Well, in the materials that were written by Doug and Lynn Fuchs and Pat Mathis, what they did is this. They listed all the children in the class from their highest fluency, reading fluency, to the lowest. Okay? Cut the paper in half and then lined it up. And the end result is the lowest performing students would be with the middle performing students. Now, you probably would look at the list and say, oh, not those two, and you might have to adjust it. But it was a very good way, particularly in the upper grades, to get the lowest performing students with middle performing students. And I did give you a number. Now, I was already asked, do you have to use numbers? You could use whatever you want. One day I was in a class where on one side of the room were windows and the other was a wall. And the teacher all day would say, windows tell your partner, walls tell your partner, windows, and it worked. I had difficulty calling children a wall. But you want to call them something else. But I usually simply say, ones tell your partner, twos tell your partner. And it's for the same reason. Some students might dominate and do all the responding. And this way I can regulate it and involve both of the students. Now, they do need to sit next to each other. And so I mention this now because one day I did training and I didn't mention it. And the next day I'm in a first grade and the teacher said, ones, please tell your partner this answer. And suddenly all these children got up and moved to their partner. you see, that was not like a good plan because one of the major places where we have management problems in the elementary school is with transitions. So this teacher had just created numerous transition options. And so you want them sitting side by side so they can stay apart. Not across the table, because now they're laying on the table, now they're sitting on the table. Now, is it possible that you've ever had a child in your class that everybody had some difficulty working with? Raise your hand if that you've ever seen that. Eh? And you know, it could be many children. It could be a included special ed student that might be more challenging. It could be gifted obnoxious. So there's many possibilities. But what I do with that child is I put them not on a dyad, but on a triad. So let's just use an example here. Let's say that, Brooke, you're in my 5th grade class, and you have pretty extensive behavioral challenges, and everybody has a little bit of difficulty working with you, okay? Now, so let's say I assign you to Mandy, okay? The challenge is, by 5th grade, your goal, Mandy, is to be in the in-group, connected to peers in your class. True, you're already in the peer years. And being assigned to Brooke is not in the in-group. So you turn around and talk to Holly, you lean over here, talk to Felix, and so you're not paying attention to her. So what I do is I put you not on a dyad, but a triad. Okay? So I add Heather. And you look over there, ooh, Heather, who's very popular. And I'm definitely in the in-group again, okay? So your number is 1, and your number is 2, and your number is also 2. She has to sit in the middle or she won't be attended to by either. So 1 to 2. And so when I say 1, say the answer, you say it to them. When I say 2, say it, you discuss it, and then you report it. Now, during the day, when you leave to go to the resource room, there's still a working partnership. And when you leave to see the counselor, still a working partnership. And when you return, 2 people could assist you on what we've done. So this is a very good way to scaffold those lowest students, is put them not on a dyad, but on a, what, everyone, a triad. Now, let me just take this a step further. You have increasing numbers of students that are English language learners in your class, and this could also be used to support a newcomer who doesn't know English. So let's just see how that would go. So let's say that you are a Spanish-speaking student, very fluent, but not an English speaker, and you're in my class in 5th grade, and you are an English-only student, and you, blessed Heather, are a bilingual student, facile both in Spanish and English. Woo, good job. So what I'm going to do is English only, you're number 1, Spanish only, you're number 2, and bilingual, you're number 2. And so I'll say 1, say the answer, you'll say it to them. You might even tell her in Spanish what the answer was. And then when I say 2, say the answer, you might discuss it in Spanish, but you're going to give her an English answer that she then has to repeat. In other words, if we take time to train the children, we could actually have an ongoing English lesson all day long, right? So we want to set it up to support your acquisition, okay? And I'll tell you, the combination of using choral responses, which are very supportive of you, and using triads is going to heighten your acquisition of English. So some kids would be on a dyad, some kids would be on a, what, everyone, a triad. All right, well, let's look at some other little hints. The next one we saw in the video. Is it possible that some students don't have the behaviors of partnership? Yes or no, everyone? Yes, so you remember, we taught them a strategy. Look at your partner, lean towards your partner, and whisper. And we didn't just tell them, we modeled it and we practiced it. Next, when I visit elementary classes, I find that there's sort of 3 teaching venues. that you have children at their desks, that you bring children up to the rug activity, and usually that's the whole class. But then you also have small group instruction where particularly during your reading period, where you're meeting with a smaller group. Now, when I give them partners, they're going to use those partners when they're taught in a whole group at their desk, or they're going to come to the rug with their partner. But when they're at small group, they're probably not going to have their partner there. And so I simply put on the desk or on the table a number, 1 with an arrow, a 2 with an arrow, 1 with an arrow, 2 with an arrow, and they simply come in and sit down in that location. And there's arrows so they know who their partner is. And that would be the same thing I would do for our special ed teachers here, where the students come to a resource environment for instruction. As soon as they sit down, there's number 1, there's number 2 with an arrow. They know who their partner is right as we start that lesson. And do you think you'd ever change the partners? Yes or no, everyone? Yes. Right, there are no partners for eternity in elementary school. So you do want to change them. And when we looked at the studies, they usually change them not daily, every 3 to 6 weeks. It's not that there wouldn't be some children you'd want to change more often. Maybe we have Jason in the class, and on Friday we say, Jason here, Matthew here. And the next Friday, Jason here, Charles there. Next Friday, Jason here, Maria there, because everybody needs their Jason experience. And so some students we might have to change more often. We have some basic ideas about how to use them. And as I've read studies where they use partners, I sort of put them into these 3 categories. And then we're going to look at specifics under those categories. So I might use partners to respond to a question. Traditionally, we might have said, Judy! But the problem is, how many people are thinking of the answer, everyone? 1. Judy. Everybody else, upon hearing Judy, has definitely checked out. When we ask questions, we might have the students share the answer with whom? Everyone there? Partner. Okay, so that's one big category where we could use partners. Another category is we could have partners actually teach information to their partner. And to me, this is what I want you to capture today. Because in the act of teaching it to someone else, is it possible that we might remember it better, yes or no? Yes. That's why we get so smart as teachers. In the act of teaching it, we finally learn it. And of course, they could also study with their partner. So there's 3 sort of categories that we could take the partner studies and put them under. So let's look first at the situation where we are going to ask a question or give a directive or a task, and we're going to involve the partners. Now, we already did this because we used the strategy of what, everyone? Think, pair, share, to brainstorm ideas. We do that often in elementary school. Maybe I'm teaching 4th grade and we're going to brainstorm alternative words to the word said, because all their dialogues say said, 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 said. Or maybe we are going to learn the word corporation and we're going to brainstorm in 5th grade what are some other corporations, and so we're going to brainstorm. So in many classes we do this. And I went through how to make it a better practice. And I want you to take a moment to tell your partner how we might make the think better without looking back at your notes, the think, the pair, and the share. So talk it over with your partner, how we could improve each of those aspects if we were brainstorming. And go. all silent. Raise your hand if you think that you didn't remember it all, even though we did it twice and I went through it with you. Raise your hand if you think you didn't remember it. As I went around the room, it was definitely possible. But it was for a purpose. We didn't rehearse it. I went through it and then we moved on. We didn't go over it more the times. And so if there's no rehearsal, is it possible there be no retention? Yes or no, everyone? Yes, and all the times I'll go into class and teachers will say, well, I taught it yesterday. I taught it yesterday. But there is no teaching if there isn't learning. And so there is the act of, there's the play of, but there is no teaching unless there is learning. And if it is factual information that I want you to retain, then I've got to provide some opportunity for rehearsal. So we're going to whip back and review that. And notice, let's see, I'm going the wrong way. So it's way back at the beginning. You don't even have to turn in, just look up here when I finally find it. And so, okay, it's got to be there. And so here we had think, pair, share. So let's just review it again. So I didn't have you just think. I had you think and what, everyone? Record. And now, if I am teaching kindergarten and first grade, I'm not going to have them record, because by the time the kindergarten student writes down their ideas, school year is over. But if they're in second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth grade, I will have them write it down. And you remember, as they're writing it down, I'm moving around and I'm writing down their idea and their name, their idea and their name. And then they're going to pair up. And they are to write down their partner's best ideas. And then the share. And so did I go around the room for sharing? Yes or no, everyone? No. I put up that piece of paper that had ideas and name from the group. Okay? So one way we could use partners is brainstorming ideas using think, pair, share, but taking it up just a little bit. Now, could you use something similar if you were teaching kindergarten, first grade? Yes. You could have them think, then have them pair up, but you could still go around and write down their idea and their name, their idea and their name, their idea and their name. Would a little first grader love to see their name on the screen? Yes or no, everyone? Yes, so you could still use it. But my point is, it was not your problem. I didn't give you rehearsal of this strategy, thus you didn't retain the details. If I wanted you to remember it, we'd have to practice it, and we'd have to come back and review it, which we just did. So later we'll check you out. All right, so going back to where we were, and looking over on slide 24. Now, this is one I want you to put stars all over, because this is a strategy you can use when you are doing reading lessons and you want to ask comprehension questions that are in your very own program. It is what you could do if you are teaching science or social studies or math and you want to ask questions, particularly ones that are going to take more thinking, higher order questions. And a practice that moves away from saying, Heather, Felix, because that doesn't give you any chance to think, any chance to practice your answer. So this is a strategy we call partners first. And so first, you would ask what, everyone? A question. So you're going to ask a question, and you're going to follow it by what kind of time, everyone? Thinking time. And I usually again put up my hands to show them silence as we think. And I often will also think, because when they look up and see that I'm thinking, and then often it's a sort of a hint to them that they should be thinking also. So we're going to ask a question, and then we're going to think. And then you might consider, particularly if you teach lower kids, scaffolding their answers by giving them a sentence starter. Have you noticed that every time I've asked you to share answers with a partner, I've given you a verbal sentence starter? So I have said ones. You're going to say one good practice was. Twos, you're going to say another good practice was. So I gave you a sentence starter. Okay? Now, I want you to think for a moment. If I gave you a sentence starter and then you completed it, what might be some of the benefits? So talk it over with your partner. What would be some of the benefits of a sentence starter? Thinking and sharing with your partner. Okay, looking up here. And you know, you totally reflected the observations I've had on using sentence starters, which I'm adding to my own repertoire, trying to be very intentional about it. Many of you said, well, with a sentence starter, you knew how to get it going. You could initiate much more quickly. And for some students, actually starting it is the challenge, so that they could initiate. A next number of you said, well, they would be more likely to be thinking of the question because the word